I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for me. And I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Are we going to accept it as our function to be happy? Is that asking too much? I guess if you're really depressed, it's asking a little bit, but it's not anything that you wouldn't want if you could get there. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Well, I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks. We're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles this year, and we're ready for Lesson 102 for Saturday, April the 12th of 2025. Several things going on today. It's Yuri's Day, first man in space. Anyways, we'll talk about what all's going on around the world here in a little bit. Let's take a look at what our lesson says. And I share God's will for happiness for me. You do not want to suffer. You may think it buys you something and may still believe a little that it buys you what you want. Do you still think that no pain, no gain, no suffering, and you won't get something? Those are old, antiquated concepts that we want to move away from. I share God's will for happiness for me. You do not want to suffer. You may think suffering buys you something and may still believe a little bit that it buys you what you want. Yet this belief is surely shaken now, at least enough to let you question it and to suspect it really makes no sense. It has not gone as yet, but lacks the roots that once secured it tightly to the dark and hidden secret places of your mind. Today we try to loose its weakened hold still further and to realize that pain is purposeless, without a cause and with no power to accomplish anything. It cannot purchase anything at all. It offers nothing and does not exist. And everything you think it offers you is lacking in existence like itself. You have been slave to nothing. Be you free today to join the happy will of God. For several days we will continue to devote our periods of practicing to exercises planned to help you reach the happiness God's will has placed in you. Here is your home, and here your safety is. Here is your peace, and here there is no fear. Here is salvation. Here is rest at last. Begin your practice periods today with the acceptance of God's will for you. I share, and here's what it is. So he says, begin your practice periods today, those 5 minutes at the top of every hour. Begin your practice periods today with this acceptance of God's will for you. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Then seek this function deep within your mind, for it is there, awaiting but your choice. You cannot fail to find it when you learn it is your choice and that you share God's will. Be happy, for your only function here is happiness. Be happy, for your only function here is happiness. You have no need to be less loving to God's Son than He whose love created Him as loving as Himself. Besides these hourly 5-minute rests, pause frequently today to tell yourself that you have now accepted happiness as your one creation. And be sure that you are joining with God's will in doing this. Be sure you're joining in God's will in doing what? Let's read it again. Besides these hourly 5-minute rests, pause frequently today to tell yourself that you have now accepted happiness as your one function. I thought forgiveness was my only function here. Oh, I thought the light of the world was my only function here. Now to find out that happiness is our function here. To say one of those things is to say all of them. So you are the light of the world, and you use forgiveness to be the light of the world, which makes you happy. It's a package deal. Besides these hourly 5-minute rests, pause frequently today to tell yourself that you have now accepted happiness as your one function. And be sure that you are joining with God's will in doing this. Wow. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Okay, well, let's go look in our text reading. And we're ready for, we're in chapter 12, the Holy Spirit's curriculum. And Saturday, April the 12th, is the Roman numeral 5, the Sane curriculum. Only love is strong because it is undivided. The strong do not attack because they see no need to do so. Before the idea of attack can enter your mind, you must have perceived yourself as weak because you attacked yourself and believed that the attack was effective. Because you attacked yourself and believed that the attack was effective, you behold yourself as weakened. So before you actually attack anyone, first you attack yourself in the thought that you're weak and that you need to protect yourself. Otherwise, it never would even occur to you to use attack to defend yourself, because there'd be no need for it, because you'd see yourself as strong and not going to be weakened by what anyone does. No longer perceiving yourself and your brothers as equal and regarding yourself as weaker, you attempt to equalize the situation you made. You use attack to do so because you believe that attack was successful in weakening you. You thought it was a real assault that they had put on you by what they had said or done. And so you thought that that attack had weakened you, so now you're feeling weak, which was another attack upon yourself. The first attack was to think that you were weak. That sets you up to be able to feel attacked by your brothers and sisters. And then you use attack to make it even further a circular problem that needs a break in the circularity of it. Paragraph 2. That is why the recognition of your own invulnerability is so important to the restoration of your sanity. For if you accept your invulnerability, you are recognizing that attack has no effect. Although you have attacked yourself, you will be demonstrating that nothing really happened. Therefore, by attacking, you have not done anything. Once you realize this, you will no longer see any sense in attack, for it manifestly does not work and cannot protect you. Yet the recognition of your invulnerability has more than negative value. If your attacks on yourself have failed to weaken you, you are still strong. You therefore have no need to equalize the situation to establish your strength. That word equalize in that paragraph was in italics, and in the last paragraph was in italics, because you're not really equalizing, it's just an appearance from the upside down perspective. If you're truly equalizing, you'd be a good thing. But used in this sense, you're just identifying as weak, and you're trying to make them equally as weak. Paragraph 3. You will never realize the utter uselessness of attack except by recognizing that your attack on yourself has no effects. For others do react to attack if they perceive it. And if you're trying to attack them, you will be unable to avoid interpreting this as reinforcement. The only place you can cancel out all reinforcement is in yourself. The only place you can cancel out all reinforcement is in yourself. For you are always the first point of your attack. And if this has never been, it has no consequence. So look inside and see yourself as one with God, sharing God's will for happiness for you that can't be changed, unalterable. Accept it as your function now. And you won't be looking for a way to equalize the situation by diminishing your brother's value, strength, or whatever he's done or said. Instead, you'll be able to see that, oh, he's just like me, and we're one in God and one in love. We both share God's will for happiness for us. And we accept it as our function now. You'll be able to say that. Paragraph 3 again. You will never realize the utter uselessness of attack except by recognizing that your attack on yourself has no effects. For others do react to attack if they perceive it. And if you're trying to attack them, you will be unable to avoid interpreting this as reinforcement. The only place you can cancel out all reinforcement is in yourself, for you are always the first point of your attack. And if this has never been, it has no consequences. Paragraph 4. The Holy Spirit's love is your strength, for yours is divided and therefore not real. You cannot trust your own love when you attack it. You cannot learn of perfect love with a split mind, because a split mind has made itself a poor learner. You tried to make the separation eternal because you wanted to retain the characteristics of creation, but with your own content. Yet creation is not of you, and poor learners do need special teaching. Do we all need special teaching? Are we poor learners? Hopefully that's starting to reverse a little bit. Paragraph 5. You have learning handicaps in a very literal sense. There are areas in your learning skills that are so impaired that you can progress only under constant, clear-cut direction provided by a teacher who can transcend your limited resources. He becomes your resource because of yourself. Because of yourself, you cannot learn. The learning situation in which you placed yourself is impossible. And in this situation, you clearly require a special teacher and a special curriculum. Poor learners are not good choices as teachers, either for themselves or for anyone else. You would hardly turn to them to establish the curriculum by which they can escape from their limitations. If they understood what is beyond them, they would not be handicapped. Well, but the beautiful thing is you don't have to stay handicapped. We've got a special curriculum, a special teacher, and if we'll do our part, that little willingness today to think about the idea every hour and every chance you get, take 5 minutes to let it settle in, that's all that's really required of you. You've got to do your part every day too, though. At least be willing to try. Paragraph 6. Holy Spirit will do the major of the work. He'll do the heavy lifting, as they call it. Paragraph 6. You do not know the meaning of love, and that is your handicap. Do not attempt to teach yourself what you do not understand, and do not try to set up curriculum goals where yours have clearly failed. Your learning goal has been not to learn, and this cannot lead to successful learning. You cannot transfer what you have not learned, and the impairment of the ability to generalize is a crucial learning failure. Would you ask those who have failed to learn what learning aids are for? They do not know. If they could interpret the aids correctly, they would have learned from them. Let's see, how are we looking? We're looking good on time, aren't we? Paragraph 7. I have said that the ego's rule is seek and do not find. Oh my. Translated into curricular terms, this means try to learn but do not succeed. The result of this curriculum goal is obvious. Every legitimate teaching aid, every real instruction, and every sensible guide to learning will be misinterpreted, since they are all for facilitating the learning this strange curriculum is against. If you're trying to learn how not to learn, and the aim of your teaching is to defeat itself, what can you expect but confusion? Such a curriculum does not make sense. This attempt at learning has so weakened your mind that you cannot love, for the curriculum you have chosen is against love and amounts to a course in how to attack yourself. Wow, that's not really what we want to learn, is it? A supplementary goal in this curriculum is learning how not to overcome the split that makes its primary aim believable. And you will not overcome the split in this curriculum, for all your learning will be on its behalf. Yet your mind speaks against your learning as your learning speaks against your mind. And so you fight against all learning and succeed, for that is what you want. But perhaps you do not realize even yet that there is something you want to learn, and that you can learn it because it is your choice to do so. Paragraph 8. You who have tried to learn what you do not want should take heart. For although the curriculum you set yourself is depressing indeed, it is merely ridiculous if you look at it. Can we learn to look at it and laugh? So, oh my, what messed up, what upside down ways I was believing. Is it possible that the way to achieve a goal is not to attain it? Resign now as your own teacher. Can we do that? Can we resign now as our own teacher and accept the Holy Spirit's guidance? This resignation will not lead to depression. It is merely the result of an honest appraisal of what you have taught yourself and of the learning outcomes that have resulted. Under the proper learning conditions, which you can neither provide nor understand, you will become an excellent learner and an excellent teacher. But it is not so yet, and will not be so until the whole learning situation, as you have set it up, is reversed. And the last paragraph, 9. Your learning potential, properly understood, is limitless because it will lead you to God. You can teach the way to Him and learn it if you follow the teacher who knows the way to Him and understands His curriculum for learning it. And that word teacher is capitalized, speaking of the Holy Spirit. Let's read it again. You can teach the way to Him and learn it if you follow the teacher who knows the way to Him and understands His curriculum for learning it. The curriculum is totally unambiguous, really clear to see, no conflicting ideas. The curriculum is totally unambiguous because the goal is not divided, and the means and end are in complete accord. You need offer only undivided attention. Everything else will be given you. Of course, that's offering quite a bit, undivided attention, but do the best you can at offering that. You need only offer undivided attention. Everything else will be given you, for you really want to learn aright, and nothing can oppose the decision of God's Son. His learning is as unlimited as he is. His learning is as unlimited as he is. Okay, and our lesson today that we'll try to every 5 minutes, every hour for 5 minutes, tell ourselves, I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. And then close your eyes, go into a quiet moment for about 5 minutes, and let that just kind of settle in on you. Let your thoughts be still. Let it be a time of rest, a time of joy, a time of saying, hey, I don't have to do anything right now. I can just be at home. And let the Holy Spirit serve you. Okay, and then throughout the day, he says, frequently tell yourself, I share God's will for happiness for me. I accept it as my function now. Okay, let's see what's going on around the world today. I told you it was Uri's night, or Uri's day. I think I call it Uri's night. It's when Yuri Gagarin, maybe it is, Yuri Gagarin, circled the globe in 1961. And you know, the Russian people they really see space exploration as a spiritual practice. You know, that we were meant to go back, that we came from the stars and we're meant to continue to go to the stars. I kind of see it like you know, the way in A Course in Miracles concept, we've been created in love and now we extend love. Well, they see that we were from the stars and we're to return to the stars. So there's a cosmology of the cosmonauts. Matter of fact, it's Russian Cosmonaut Day, and cosmism, Russian cosmism. Anyway, there's a lot more. It's like in the United States, it's much more scientific and kind of all divorced from where we came from and where we're going. There's no ought to. There's just an explanation of physics rather than the reason for it. So in some ways, the cosmonaut program, or the cosmism is kind of a step above what is being done in the United States, in my opinion, because it brings a dimension of spirituality to space exploration, which I like that. International Day of Human Space Flight, Walk on the Wild Side Day, Wear a Star Day, Only Child Day, Halifax Day in Halifax, North Carolina. Let's see, International Day of Street Children, D.E.A.R. Day, which is Drop Everything and Read Day. And you know, I've said before that reading is actually a very nice meditation, particularly if you're reading something that's of higher consciousness. You know, like books like the Tao Te Ching or the Bhagavad Gita, A Course in Miracles, or even the Bible. As you read these books, and if you read them with keeping your mind focused on what you're reading, trying to comprehend it, you're doing a type of jnana yoga. And I would encourage you always to stop and say, God, help me to understand, at the end of your reading or while you're reading. Big Wind Day, strongest wind recorded in the world, I think, was on this day in 1934 on the top of Mount Washington. Winds reached 231 miles per hour. That'd be like an F4 tornado. Baby Massage Day. Lent continues. Passover begins for you Jewish people, also known as the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Lazarus Saturday for the Eastern Orthodox Christian folks, and memorial of Jesus' death, the Jehovah Witnesses celebration. So there, and then also, it's also Licorice Day, and I found that licorice, it's the Glycyrrhiza glabra, and on simplyhealth.io, it said it's good for digestive health, weight loss, liver health, inflammation, cognitive health, fatigue, sleep, skin health, ulcers, anti-cancer properties, and upper respiratory problems, hepatitis C, menopause, blood sugar leveling, and teeth strength. So all those for licorice. And then out of Baker Creek heirloom seed, we're talking about the cosmonauts, and I found there's the cosmos flowers. and of the cosmos flowers, one I want to talk about is Bright Lights, which is a Cosmos sulphureus. It's the one cosmos that is edible. All its parts are edible. The other varieties, if it's a Cosmos bipinnatus, they're not edible. And there's 3 varieties that they sell in the Baker Creek heirloom seed that are not the edible ones. Rubinato Cosmos, Apricot Lemonade Cosmos, and Candy Floss Red Cosmos. Those are all the bipinnatus species. But the Cosmos sulphureus, it was Bright Lights, which is edible. So you can eat those flowers. They also attract bees and butterflies. I expect they all do that. Good pollinators. And it says of the Bright Lights, brilliant flowers in shades of orange, yellow, and flame red. The plants are early to bloom and produce profusely, colorful, and easy to grow. Okay, so we're just talking a lot about the cosmology of the Russian people, and being a cosmonaut, and first people in space, and returning to the stars from which we came. So I just thought, well, cosmos is a nice flower that we ought to all be growing a little bit of. Okay, let's close with our song. Our word for peace is from the Siswati people of the Pongola River in South Africa and Mozambique, and the word is Kuthula. So Kuthula be with you. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. I share God's will for happiness for me, and I accept it as my function now. Kuthula.